to the Town of Waterboro Planning Board meeting for March 3rd, 2010. My name is Tim Nelson. I'm Chair of the Planning Board Committee, and I will call this meeting to order. Our only board member missing this evening is Judy. We do have a quorum. So I will start with our first appointment, which is Meadowbrook Acres 2 Subdivision. And I believe at the last meeting, we left with some discussion on a conflict of interest with one of the board members, and I will pick it up from that point and allow either Mr. Cody or his representative, Mr. Thompson, to speak.
Great, thanks. Bill Thompson with VIII Engineers, Project Manager, here for Andy Cody, the applicant. When we left the last meeting, or as a result of that meeting, there was a motion made to come up with a map outlining the ownership and the development of Meadowbrook Acres against the abutting property, Doug Foglio. We created a map utilizing the survey for the Andy Cody property, Phase 1 and Phase 2, against the balance of his property that comes down to Daring Ridge Road, and based on a survey plan done as part of Doug Foglio's gravel pit operation by Sebago Technics. That plan was loaned to me so I could take the information and drop it into this aerial photo showing the common boundary lines and also the approximate gravel operation as it exists, fairly recent. We had two sources of aerial maps. I had one that I think either Maine Turnpike or MDOT uses. It was a newer flight line, so it showed the gravel pit as of represented here in a yellow print. And I was able to superimpose all of this on a Google aerial map. I was not able to take the MDOT map and do any manipulations whatsoever. It wouldn't let me put on a new layer or do any representation of property lines or boundary lines or lots. So I took the information from the gravel pit outline based on the aerial photo from the turnpike, which showed up as a very nice light color, obviously as gravel. Scaled that onto this plan. So we do have a plan now that the board asked for, showing the relationship to Phase 1, Phase 2 of Meadowbrook, and the ownership and gravel operation of Doug Foglio.
Doug, have you looked at this map?
Well, I looked at it briefly earlier today.
That's the subdivision, what's that yellow subdivision?
That's this one.
That's this one here. We got Phase 1 and Phase 2.
And mine is this one right up in there. Actually, since I'm part of this, you probably should be. I'm just going to figure out where to go.
Pass the map. Have you guys had a chance to see the map? A scenic view, a scenic drive, is that the dirt road that it comes up? You can see it coming up like between the two Panoramic Drive?
Yeah. Let me go over with you.
Okay.
This is the subdivision.
Good looking view.
Phase they're asking for right now. This is the,
Yeah, you got it.
Let me roll it back.
see that bill?
You can see that there's property between mine and his up there at the subdivision.
Doug, where's that?
Well, you can see that I don't actually abut the subdivision. There's another piece of land that comes down between us here.
Good, Andy.
I came in here last time, this is pretty much the same thing that I showed you. My lot coming down here, that lot coming up through here. And I think because it wasn't on aerial, you couldn't see it, but this is pretty much what it shows on the tax maps as well. It's the same thing we were looking at in the last meeting, when we could see it better now. There's actually, the subdivision comes in here, and it turns down over there. His land is in here, and his pit is here. The panoramic drive comes down through here and out this way. Tim Nelson lives in this area, right up here someplace, I'm not exactly sure where. There's some common land that goes with that comes up here, and there's a guy named Gibson that owns a piece that comes like this and like that. And then there's another piece in here, so Tim isn't even, he's not even close to me at all, and he's got the same use. I mean, the issue here is not so much the abutting. I mean, the abutting is one issue, but the abutting and the use of the property. That's what the thing is. I mean, you've got a residential house, and I'm building residential houses. I don't see where there's a conflict with that at all.
What's the distance on that pit?
It's about 450 feet to the closest point of the existing pit to the property line.
I think if you go to the pit, you'll find it's more like 2,000 feet, 1,800.
I have another map here. This is colored. I
You
figured
go
Doug,
from his gravel pit.
I figured Doug might say that.
That's my gravel pit like that, it's
Oh, to the development of the property
to the
line?
development.
Oh, to the
my
development,
pit,
yeah.
1,800
The
feet.
development is 2,000 feet. To this section that we are looking at right now, Phase 2, the closest point is just about 2,000 feet.
There's tape there.
Oh, so the 400 feet was the edge of the gravel pit to the
That was
other
the nearest
property?
point of the
To the
properties.
closest property line.
Okay.
The subdivision, yeah.
Bill,
Yeah,
there's tape on the table at that house.
well, I'm trying to multitask here. We'll see how successful I am.
Falls down the 10th.
Okay. Yeah, the closest point from the edge of here to the property line is, I guess you scaled it about 450 feet.
On to the existing pit though, is 2,000. And the majority of this is wetland, isn't it then?
All wetland.
You can see the,
But the real issue here is that I live here, which is farther, actually, than where this is from his pit. And every morning when I get up, I can hear the backup alarms. And that's where the issue of conflict comes in, because people that live in subdivisions, and Doug knows this because he's dealt with this before, people that live in subdivisions don't like hearing pit noises. And so by putting houses, it influences, it can create problems. I'm coming this way, he's going that way, and people are going to complain, and that can create him problems. I'm sure that Doug is looking for the best interest of the town. There's no doubt about that in my mind. He's a good person, he does a lot for this town, but this also affects him personally. This also affects him personally.
Okay, I think we got two issues that we've got to decide before we can move on. Conflict of interest with the chairman and conflict of interest with Doug. So we'll start with the conflict of interest. Do I have a motion for conflict of interest with the chairman? Failing to hear a motion on that. There's no, and I'll pass the gavel back over to you. You want me to do?
Nobody?
No motion.
No motion? Okay. Well, at least call for a vote.
Yeah.
We got a vote.
Either up or down.
Conflict of interest with the chairman hearing this. Could I have a vote? Anybody that thinks there is a conflict of interest, please raise your hand. Anybody that does not think there's conflict of interest, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doug's out because of,
Thank you. I'll take the gavel back. Our next decision that we need to make on this board this evening is if the board feels, actually, let me start off by asking Mr. Foglio if he wishes to recuse himself.
No.
Thank you. Now I will ask members of the board if they feel that there is a conflict of interest with Mr. Foglio. I will first ask if they do to please indicate by raising their hand. So,
Tim?
all those that...
Tim, when you say conflict of interest, you need to add, it actually is two things. It's also perception of conflict of interest. The way that reads is both. So you need to say conflict of interest, or perception of conflict of interest. I think
All
the
right.
way the law reads is it's both.
For clarification, I will rephrase it. Anybody that feels there's a conflict of interest or a perception of conflict of interest with Mr. Foglio and Mr. Cody, please indicate by raising your hand. Anybody that feels there is not a conflict of interest with Mr. Foglio and Mr. Cody, or perception of conflict, please indicate by raising your hand.
Whose perception?
Perception or conflict.
My perception or?
The board's perception at this point.
Oh, okay.
So it's 2-2, and Steve, you abstaining?
At this point, I don't really have enough information to make up my mind.
Actually, I don't think you can abstain.
All right, we will go through it one more time. And I'm going to ask that everybody please vote, and I abstain to see where it was going to go. Anybody that feels there's a perception of conflict of interest or a conflict of interest between Mr. Cody and Mr. Foglio, please indicate by raising your hand. Anybody that doesn't, please indicate by raising your hand, either conflict or perception. 3-3. I'm going to ask for some advice at this point. I believe a 3-3 typically on a motion kills the motion, but until we get a decision made here, I believe this is still
The full board.
It's a hung jury.
it's a hung jury. For those, and actually for the board, what needs to happen to either sway you one way or the other? What do we need to move this along?
I feel that we need a better picture of where the wetlands are, to the extent of what Foglio's pit can be extended. That's my feelings. I've hunted out there, and I know there's a lot of wetlands out there that he can't get close to with a pit. That's my feelings.
So one. Is there anything else? Frank?
Sure, I guess I'll bring up why I brought up the perception. I've heard nothing but for 2 weeks, but almost the same thing Mr. Cody did. He thinks Doug is acting in the interest of the town. And at the same breath, people will say, yeah, but you know, there's a perception of conflict of interest. From my viewpoint, perception is worse than a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is either is there or isn't there. It's the people thinking there's a conflict, to me, is worse. But everybody echoes your words, and these are people I don't hear from. I mean, these are people I sit around their house having coffee with. They all say, hey, Doug's doing the best for the town, and in the same breath they say, but you know what?
I agree.
Now the problem with that, my problem with that is that pit's almost finished. How much more of that pit's got to go?
According to the survey that Bill Thompson done, I believe it said it's 74% complete. I believe that's what it said on the map that I provided.
And we're looking at, and I realize at the edge of the line, but to your developer, you're looking at 2,000 feet. If I take every pit in this town, and every development, that just ended development of Waterboro with anybody on this board doing anything on it. We can't get 2,000 feet away from a pit in this town. You just can't.
And I don't think you have to get 2,000 feet from it. I don't think you have to get 2,000 feet away from any pit in this town, but I think that a person that owns a pit within 2,000 feet shouldn't be able to vote, especially if he abuts my property. That's the point, is that the person who it may affect, in my opinion, does affect, and some of the board members, they're not sure if it affects it, but there is definitely a perceived conflict of interest. Even your own town attorney said it's best to get off, right?
tend to ignore it.
And at the last meeting, he said there was 4 more years that he'd be out there, and that's if he doesn't acquire the adjoining piece of property, which I'm sure he probably is, because that's all sand and gravel. This was an amended, this plan was expanded in 2004, 4 years after I bought my property, is when this plan got approved, the pit got approved. And so, and even like the wetlands, I mean, that's all peat. I mean, he's cut off all the trees and sold all the trees, and he's dug up all the dirt. Is he gonna sell the peat? I have no idea. Neighbors could, and I know that I'm getting off, but these are where conflicts of interest, I don't know what his plans are any more than he knows what my plans are.
With all due respect, at the same token, you've told us you have no plans past this
Yes,
development.
yes, exactly.
You're not making any plans, so
Right.
we've still got 2,000 feet. You can put a backup horn out here now, and half the town will hear it, if the wind's blowing, right? I have a problem, and I understand what you're saying, but I have a problem with it. My only issue is perception.
Yeah, okay.
And I have a problem with that too, because once again, we're stuck in a town. That means that if you do that, that means Doug won't be able to vote in another development in this town, because someone's gonna have a gravel pit on it.
Judy?
You mean, if I feel people of the town perceive a conflict of interest, I'm supposed to vote against it however I feel? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I ever said that, no.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying people have come up to you and say they perceive there's a conflict of interest, so therefore you're voting.
So that influenced my vote, yes. Sure.
I think what needs to sway your vote is your beliefs
Yes.
and your feelings.
I mean, I look at it as he's on the way out of this gravel pit. And, I mean, there's a lot of gravel pits and a lot of other places, and I just don't think that it's a conflict of interest. I mean, it's
I agree. I don't-
probably perceived by many people as a conflict of interest. I will agree on that.
And that's where my vote came in, is the perception part of it. And I've known Doug for a long time, and Doug and I have probably butted heads as many times as a lot of people in this town, but I think what Doug does from his heart, and he feels best for the town. But perception is so poorly defined, and it's such a vague term in my opinion. It makes it very difficult. And my thought is if we, as a board, don't resolve this, or at least come up with why we feel we don't perceive him as a conflict, or perceive it as a conflict with Mr. Cody, whatever goes on beyond this point is all open for challenge, and I don't think Mr. Cody's project is going to go much further for a while, or if it goes further, I think it's going to be back because of legal challenges. I'm torn.
But to me, it's just as much of a problem that we can't get any long-range plans from Mr. Cody
I agree.
on this. So how are we supposed to decide the problem of the
Absolutely.
road? I
And
mean,
I'm not-
to
and-
me, it's almost impossible.
You're right. You're right. And I've known Mr. Cody
I mean,
since we were kids in Bedford, probably. So I sit at both sides of this table. I know them both, and it's a tough choice we have to make, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it and how we can resolve this so we can move on, and Mr. Cody's project can either move on or something happens. And I don't know how to do it, I'll be honest with you. We're at a deadlock. I haven't got any ideas. I've been doing this a long time. Bill, you've been doing this. I think this is the first time I've ever come up with a conflict of interest like this.
Can I interject something?
You may, please.
You're looking at a partial set of my plans. If you went and got my plans, when I submitted my original set of plans, which, just to correct the record, I've been there, I believe, something like 15 years. 13 or 15, I don't know exactly what the date on the plan is, but there is a date on the plan. And, I've passed all of the musters. But if you look at my complete set of plans, you'll find that I submitted a set of plans.
Plans right here, Doug? it say 2004 on them?
That was for the,
That was
Gravel pit review.
updated plan.
That's the plan that I'm referring to.
That's not even, that doesn't even have anything to do with what comes close to your property. The piece that comes close to your property, that's the amended one. The original one is dated 2000, I believe, something like 1995 or, I don't know.
All right.
If you bring
Well, wait a minute. Okay, guys.
in it,
You're free to look at this, I'm just gonna put it down here, you look at it. You look at the dates and what it is, and where the pit is, and the size, it's the same thing to me.
Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break so Tina can go look through the records, Doug can review this plan, and we'll be back on in 5. Ready, Dave? Yep. We're back on the air, and for the record, I probably should have called for a vote for the recess. So the recess that I called for was probably wrong to do it the way I did it, and I apologize to those who were here. I will get back on the subject, and I'm going to allow...
What's the date on those, Tom?
1995.
Is that
1995.
95?
Doug, you've had a chance to look at these plans. Are these the plans that you were discussing earlier, prior to the recess?
Well, the ones that I was talking about was the original set of plans, which was dated 1995.
I have before me a copy of probably what came from the town of Waterboro Planning Board, the headers cut off of it. Dated August 30th, 1995. It is to Douglas Foglio, care of Foglio Inc., and his address is there. It says, "Dear Mr. Foglio, the Waterboro Planning Board on their May 27th, 1993 and July 27th, 1995 meeting approved your site plan to allow excavation projects on the property located at tax map 10, lot 49, which I believe is the lot and map we're discussing this evening. This was approved under section 404 of Waterboro zoning ordinance. Your application has been approved for the following condition. See attached Sebago Technic letter dated May 27th, 1993, with standards include the signed plan and minutes of July 27th. Then it goes on to say, this is your permit. It was signed by then Treasurer Dwayne Woodson. I am not going to read Sebago Technic's letter. I will enter this into the record for evidence. So that clearly establishes Mr. Foglio's pit as at least 1993.
I do. The plan we had came from 200. The plan we had was an amended plan from 2004, and that's all I was made aware of. So I stand corrected.
All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to discuss at this time?
I think if you look at the 2004 drawing of the revised pit drawing, it does show the swamp or the wetland. It pretty much follows the yellow line, but what you don't see on it is how the wetland cuts in. That pit is pretty much bound out by wetland. On either sides, it's all closed, bounded out. From where the pit, so the pit really can't expand out. I mean, I think we are looking at a pit that's at the end of its life, just because it only has a max depth of 25 feet for extraction out of it.
Can we, for the record, establish a couple of things here this evening? I guess let's see what we can do. We can establish that Mr. Foglio's property does indeed abut Mr. Cody's property, correct? And I'm not talking the expansion of or not, but we can establish that the properties do abut.
Yes.
All right.
I abut his property, I do not abut the subdivision.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm just, so for the record, we're going to establish that. We're also, let's see if we can break this down a little bit further, and I'm thinking out loud here. Can we break it down to see if we feel there's a actual conflict versus perception? And are we hung up on perception, or are we hung up on conflict? If we can break it down, then maybe we can take it to the next level. I think this side of the table is hung up on perception more than conflict, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
I have no problem
So-
with conflict, I just perception.
And you guys, it sounds like SMU, but I don't mean it that way, please excuse the language, but what's the feeling on the other side? You don't feel there's a conflict, or do you, either conflict or perception? And I know, David, you feel there's not enough information.
And another thing that I feel, if we're talking 25% of the area that's shown, I took a ride up there, and it looked to me like the only place that can be expanded is right and you can correct me, Doug, if I'm wrong, it's only down in this lower part right here that can be expanded. This is the upper part that's started to be reclaimed, and I believe it's right in here, isn't it, Doug, or is it?
No, it's to the left.
It's over this way more?
Yeah.
It's right
That's
in here?
all that's left. I'm headed just east away from his
So all of this
subdivision.
area is not going to be pit?
There's not really a marketable product in there. That's why you see it's all
So
clear.
it's really no longer going to get closer to this side of Mr. Cody's property?
You'll see that that's all designated stockpile area. That's where the stockpiles all stand.
That was another question I had, was how much closer.
Andy, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to bring you up to the podium.
Another reason why I think.
No, let's see if we can resolve this conflict of perception. The pit has been there since 93, it's been there longer than 93 because I remember going in that when I first moved here in the 70s. And I'm speaking, I guess hypothetically now, is your concern an actual conflict, or is it a perception of conflict with your proposed?
My concern is an actual conflict. I don't think there's even a perception of conflict. But my concern is an actual conflict because people in gravel pits don't, he's still got 4 years. He said he's still got 4 years. Whether he's finishing up or winding down, he's got 4 years. And as soon as I build another house there, that person could be a real tree hugger, I don't know, and it could cause him problems. You know, it's,
If he's got, excuse me.
Go ahead.
He's got an approved pit. Let me walk through this.
Yeah.
He's got an approved pit. We're pretty clear about
I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong.
roughly how much has been developed. We've got some small percentage left to go. It's not like that's going to go away.
No.
I don't
No.
care how many tree huggers you have. I mean,
No.
it's an approved
No.
pit. Done. You've got a piece of land that you're going to develop. I don't see the conflict. In that sense, I don't see that. No matter what you do, he's got a small percentage to go. When he comes up and says, hey, you know, I think I'm going to change my mind, I want to go expand another 80% or something,
What
at
happens-
that point, we have a problem.
What happens in these issues is that people all of a sudden decide they don't like what's happening or whatever. And I'm not saying that's fair, and it's not fair to him. But it can happen, and he knows this can happen. And because that, I think that it influences it has to have some kind of play that conceivably somebody could just walk out there and say, he's supposed to have a silt fence there, and he's supposed to have this, and he's supposed to have that, and I'm calling DEP, and he's out $2,000.
But with all due respect, they've
Yes.
done that to him for the last, how many
I know.
years?
And the more people that are out there, the more people that can do this. And that's why he doesn't want houses next to him. That's how I feel. That's, you know.
I think, looking at these plans, I think what I see is, I understand 100% what you're saying, Andy. That, the not in my backyard thing, even though it was pre-existing when they, the pig farm situation. But what happens here is looking at this, I'm looking at it as, he's got 4 years, whatever, that's what he's saying, ramping down. With this economy, you have X years before you're ramping up. They're almost at a point that he's ramping down and you're ramping up. They're going to happen pretty close at the same time. I think, it's looking at these just because of where the wetland is, he can't expand. He can't go any deeper. It was only 25 feet to pull out. I think we're looking at, unless the economy changes drastically, I don't think you're going to get, 10 houses going in 2 years. On it. And looking at it this way, I understand 100% what you're saying. The perception is reality, but the reality is that phase 1 could be doing the same thing, and they're already pre-existing. They're literally not a lot closer than what phase 2 is. Even the people in the chairman's neighborhood are about the same distance away. Sean Shoemaker's even closer.
David?
I guess one other question that none of us have asked so far is, have there been any other complaints as far as the noise from the pit and so on?
Has the code office received any complaints regarding
Not that I'm aware
this
of.
pit in particular?
Well, you're not complaining, so you're just saying you can hear it.
Perception. Not a complaint.
There are houses that are, I think there's one house that's
I think
pretty
that's
close, and then there's another one that goes in a ways.
that Deer and Ridge subdivision
Yeah.
right off of
Yeah,
Gary Morrow's brook pond is
Yep.
right there too.
Gary Morrow, yeah.
that's right across the street, actually, if you look at it. And
Call for another vote.
During the break, Mr. Cody approached me and he said he had a couple other issues he'd like to discuss, so I'll allow Mr. Cody to take the stand and discuss his other issues at this point.
Before we clear this?
Before we clear this may require,
It's a totally different situation that I was just shocked. It was brought to my attention. I get a copy of the tape of the meeting, every meeting, and I found in this last meeting that the tape had been edited, and what's been playing on TV has also been edited. And so I'm wondering who's fooling with the public record of what happens at these meetings. I mean, I just found that, like, wow. So I don't know how it happened, or where it happened, or who made it happen, but this is, I'm speechless.
So you
It's
get
not
that?
there.
All right.
The tape is not there.
There's nothing edited.
It's left out.
Yeah. I can check with Saco River, that one may have recorded up there and not here, but.
I have it on my disc. The disc you gave me, it's out of the disc.
It's outer, so where have you seen it, that
It's not, the beginning of the meeting is not there.
it's on the TV though?
It's not on the TV.
It's not on either one.
It's not on my disc, and it's not on the TV.
That's not it.
Well, it's not been shown. It's not been shown.
all right. So we have two issues. First issue, we're going to go back to the pit, and then the second issue is going to be probably given to the selectmen and let them resolve that issue. I don't think that's an issue for this board at this time, since we don't have any control over the editing or the non-editing or the
Taping,
taping,
recording.
thank you, of the meetings. I will ask this, how can we get this matter resolved? Should we postpone this and ask for more information to satisfy Mr. Benton? Should we ask for the attorney to be present at this meeting? And they're both going to be expenses. The attorney's going to be an expense to us, and the further information is again going to be an expense to the applicants.
Change your vote.
You want to vote?
No,
Or a
I'm
vote?
kidding. I said change your vote.
We have a, what's your pleasure, folks? Do you want to try another vote? I think we're going to be
Do another
deadlocked
vote.
again, because I think perception is a big thing. Do we need an attorney here to help walk us through this perception issue?
I wouldn't mind an attorney here. But I got some questions for him. And I guess the biggest
And I was thinking-
biggest one is Judy brought up. Is it my perception, or is it perception from what I hear? And I hadn't really looked at it that way, so I wouldn't mind having that attorney, and it makes a difference. And my perception is
I
no
don't see why it's
problem.
not our perception, how we feel, rather than how, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
And
I mean,
I don't have the answer to that, Judy.
it can always be, there are always going to be people out there
There's always going to be
that
people
will
that perceive.
perceive something in a different way.
I'm open to anything at this point.
When I've seen situations with boards and applicants and stuck in this type of dilemma, I mean, this could remain stuck for a long time, and there's only two ways to resolve it. Three ways. One, the applicant needs to come and the board needs to come together in some sort of compromise. That's one way. Second way is, as Frank has suggested, get some clarity from the town attorney. Because it's affecting both the town and applicant and the reputations of both, then I would recommend that be cost shared. It shouldn't be encumbered by the town as a town expense, nor should it be just an applicant expense, because you're all stuck. And your third way, which some boards seek to consider, which is also costs some dollars, is to mediate it, which leads again to the compromise of the resolution. It's not, mediation probably hasn't been exercised before in this community. But this is a difficult one, and I see it being stuck for a long time, and it's not fair to the board nor to the applicant to remain in that status.
No, but it's serious to the board.
Pardon me?
No, but it's very serious to the board. It's not an idle one. I'd like to say, talk to the lawyer.
Yeah, I
Specifically
agree.
about the
That's-
perception.
But those, I just felt an obligation to share those three options.
Mediation's a good issue, but I think it's more of a legal issue at this point.
Yes.
We're going to have to act on legal consult at this point, because wherever we go beyond this
Results.
could result in legal action. It may not, but there's always that possibility.
It allows that way the board and the town to make the right decision, have legal counsel.
To make a decision,
To make a decision, but
not
and also,
necessarily the right.
thank you, you're right. But also it helps you in all your future decisions on perception.
Absolutely. I mean, Waterboro is a small town. Some of these board members have been in Waterboro all their lives. Some of us have been transplants for many years. So we're pretty much familiar and had some dealings with pretty much everybody in the city, the town of Waterboro. So we need to resolve that. If indeed this is a conflict, it may affect how the laws or how the laws of Waterboro need to be rewritten to help that, because otherwise business won't be done on any basis here. So I'm going to ask, let me ask for a motion. I'm going to ask for a motion to ask an attorney to be here for our next meeting, which is
March 17th?
March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
No, we need to discuss.
All right, I'm going to ask the attorney to be here and have him bring some Irish whiskey
Come here and say Patty's Day.
for that meeting.
Just
We should kind of canvass the board and make sure everyone can be here that day. That's
Right.
important, I think.
I'm actually off that day. Yeah, so,
Do we have enough time to move to next week? Is that enough time, or is?
I guess until I talk to the attorney, I do not know that answer.
What might be helpful to all the parties is to have your first priority date and a backup date, and then also determine which attorney you want to have here, because that's important. And then also determine the cost sharing, or who's paying for the bill. Those are, I think, three hanging issues. Well, it's important. I mean,
I know, I'm just going through the process in my mind. I don't pay any attention to me. Straighten it out. Let's start by the date first. Our next meeting is March 17th.
Should have brought your computer.
Thank you. Let's see if we can, does next Wednesday work for everybody? Can we try for next Wednesday and then have it as the following, have it our regular meeting if that doesn't work for the attorneys?
So March 10th and March 17th?
Yeah, and I will call you with my date,
Okay, call me.
with my
first thing.
information. March 10th?
Is everybody okay for both of those dates?
So it's March 9th
Would be a Tuesday, and that would be Selectmen's meeting in here.
or March 10th?
March 10th. It's a Wednesday.
Right,
Yeah. The other date is the 19th?
17th.
17th, yeah.
I'm going to ask that whatever is on the schedule for either one of those days not be on the schedule, and I want this
To be,
as the
yeah.
only topic of discussion
And I
for
have
that
nothing.
meeting day, whether it's the 7th, especially if it's the 17th.
I have nothing scheduled.
Okay. So we've come to that. Next question is cost sharing. Mr. Cody, are you
I'm not the
prepared
one
to?
that's asking for an attorney. If I come in with a plan, I come in with my own attorney. The attorney be representing the position of the town. The town is selecting the attorney, so they should pay for their own attorney. I would come to the meeting with my own attorney at that point.
I second that because it's a CYA on the boards.
Right.
It's really for the boards. So it's, the attorney is to prevent any future legal action being taken against the town. Because
I agree. Does the board all have any,
I agree.
okay. David?
I
Steve?
agree.
Judy? All right. So it's our diamond. What was the third one? You remember, Tom? You're older than me, I think.
I mean,
You have a rain date?
Consensus with the rain date, I think we can cover.
I think you need to have a motion to do all that.
Okay, I will ask for a motion now to do all that.
I'll make a motion that we have a meeting with the town attorney on either March 10th or backup date of March 17th to discuss, it's on the town's, the town will bear the cost of that, to discuss the potential conflict of interest between a board member and the project.
Do I have a second on that? Second by Frank?
Yeah, that's second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed?
I have one other question. Do we still have an alternate to the board?
No.
Well, these alternates are part of the board
It's never
itself.
been changed.
It's one of us,
Yeah.
Two.
two of us.
Two are alternates. Two. But we took
They're
a,
voting members.
we took a vote years ago to make
Yeah.
all members of the board voting members.
All right. With that said, I will put this appointment to rest at this point and move on with the agenda, unless Bill or Andy or anybody has anything to say.
I think that, I should clarify my position.
All right.
There'll be people out there saying, why don't you just step aside? Well, I think this conflict of interest business has gotten too carried away. There are honest people in this world, and I don't think that they have a conflict if they exercise their beliefs for the betterment of the town of Waterboro in this particular case. And as individual members, we start stepping aside for every time somebody sits in front of us who we might know, or our neighbor might know, or our father and mother knew. Pretty quick, none of us can preside, and we'll have to have 4 or 5 complete boards to set in to hear different people that come before us. I sat on this board for a long time. I've been on a lot of committees. I've been a selectman. I've sworn an oath that lasts to me the rest of my life to do the best for the town of Waterboro. And I don't see how not representing a board you're appointed to is doing the best for the town of Waterboro. And I think that the outcome of this probably has some effect on how this board will function from here on out. And I think that, everybody has to make their own decision. I think the town, at Mr. Cody's request, spent money to get a opinion from the town attorney that said that I did not have to step aside. I don't think they should have done that. I think he should have gone to his own attorney and got it done. But the town paid for that, which I think is wrong. And so at this point, I hate this holdup. I think it's too bad that we're sitting here going through this rhetorical thing when it's unnecessary. I think it's just because of the safety issues that I've raised that this has all come to light. I also think that had we have been provided with a complete set of plans, which we have not, and I think that that comes from within myself, because when I submitted a set of plans to the town, I submitted a complete set of plans. And I didn't think it was wrong in asking Mr. Cody to give us a complete set of plans as to what he's going to do with the rest of his property. And I think that this is just inappropriate that this whole thing is taking place.
Thank you, Doug. Okay. I will move on to the next item of discussion, a topic of discussion, and that's minutes of previous meetings. I have minutes from December 16th, meeting 2009. Everything's in your packet. I will accept the motion. Yeah, I don't believe we need to table you at this point. I think we, if you like, I will. For the record, can I have a motion to table Mr. Cody until our next meeting dates?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? You are. Thank you, gentlemen. And Andy, I'm going to forward your concerns about the tapes over to the Board of Selectmen or to Nancy Brandt and let those people deal with that issue, okay? I was absent at that meeting and Kurt was absent, so I'm going to ask those who were present to review the minutes and give me a motion to accept.
Perception's reality.
Do I have a motion?
Which one are we doing? I'm sorry.
It's not those, it's the December 16th
December
minutes.
Sure.
16th.
That's fine with me.
Is there a second? Second by Steve. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Kevin,
Abstain?
question on that. Do we, I keep asking this, have we heard from the Finance Committee? Do we get to present our budget? Can you send an email to the selectmen or the Finance Committee, find out when we're going in front of them?
Moving on, no reports from the officers. We do not have old business. Communications in your packet, there's a letter dated March 3rd today from Patty to Bill Thompson. There's also an expense report dated 2/4/2010 in our packet. Excuse me?
See how much you've got left in legal. Because you're going to be spending it next week.
$2,200.
Okay.
You gotta sign that, because it's,
Yeah.
send it down to the people that are on it.
And then a DEP letter on potable water. What they basically said in that DEP letter is there's a website, MainGov, to see where all the hazardous and oil spill sites are that they're cleaning up. Number 7 is miscellaneous, and I'll bring Tom over to here. It's a planner's review on plan elements of Waterboro comprehensive plan. Tom?
I was not there for that entire
And
meeting.
Tom, while
You
you
don't want to discuss this
He came in
letter?
late. He came in late.
Yeah,
No, because it's pertaining to Mr. Cody.
Well, I think it's,
Just takes me a while, that's all.
I think that this is very important.
I understand that, but it was specific to Mr. Cody for that project.
I know, but it's...
And without them being here,
It's been brought up under communications, hasn't it?
as a letter, yeah, but it is a letter to Mr. Cody. I really don't want to go through the content of it if he's not here at this point. Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, board members, just like to do a refresher of this piece of your packet. So it's entitled Review of Plan Elements.
Can I interrupt you before I forget something? I want to ask you, on the subject tonight, on the development tonight, we've repeatedly heard that they had meetings with the road commissioner and fire chief and road review. Before we do another meeting on this thing, I would like a written report from them
Board review.
From whichever one he's gonna quote, I would like to see something in writing, not, it was a nice meeting, we all patted ourselves on the back. I want to see something on paper.
Frank, thanks for bringing that up.
I'm sorry, it popped up a million times, I forget about it.
It's a good point. Let's start with that before we even get to this form, okay? I think any time that there's communications between a staff member and a staff decision, it's the fire chief, road review committee, town planner, CEO, put it in writing, because that way you've got a paper trail to follow, and also there should be more clarity. It's not he said, she said. You're right.
Well, that's all we've had so far.
I think, I'm glad you brought it up. Let's just, that should be a staff responsibility,
Yep.
and we should have that commitment to you as board members. So, Tina and I will work on it.
Sorry to interrupt you.
And it's going to be a new phenomenon for certain boards and committees, if you know what I mean. And so this is, I guess, the time for change where everybody needs to be accountable for their opinions. And that's all, incidentally, that committees and staff can give to you, excepting Patty, because she's code enforcement officer, and she's empowered with things that most of us aren't. Let's go back to this form here. This is something that goes back to, shall I refer to it as the past board? We were talking about a year ago of the need to possibly update the comprehensive plan. It's now become even more apparent that it needs a complete overhaul. Some of you have been more intimately involved with comprehensive plans than others. This was a starting point that I suggested, and I think we talked about this a month or two ago. I really need each board member to individually it's only going to take 5 or 10 minutes to go through this. I've listed on the left-hand column what I would envision would be traditional elements to your new comprehensive plan. I'd like to hear from each board member vis-a-vis this form. Are there any additional chapters you'd like to see in there? And then, most importantly, existing chapters that exist, do they need to be updated or completely overhauled? Because I think the planning board members' opinions are critical before this starts up at the committee level. To give the board a quick update, I believe that the entire Board of Selectmen are on board about starting up this process. They've asked me at a previous meeting to work on several public announcements as part of their recruitment process to form this committee. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be doing a PSA, a public service announcement, that's going to speak to a public request for people to make a long-term commitment. From my past experience, I find that doing this kind of an overhaul, which is basically almost a complete rewrite, is going to take 18 to 24 months. And it's going to take a deep commitment on whoever participates. By deep commitment, I mean, you can't show up every other meeting. You have to be at all the meetings in order to make this have some validity to it. It's a very lengthy process. I've shared with the Board of Selectmen some timelines for Upstart. The first 2 steps are this, to get planning board. I'd like the planning board to be the first to comment on this before it even gets to the committee level. If the selectmen find that there's a good response to and interest to joining this comprehensive plan committee, I believe they'll be making appointments towards the end of April or the early part of May. I'm going to try to keep it out there for 6 to 8 weeks to see how many people they can get interested. What this does is this is a simple little tool for me to find out where the planning board's at, if there's consensus on the board. And so I'd prefer you do it individually rather than as a group. And then I'll weave them together and we'll see where the consensus is.
Could you have the plan sent out electronically?
The last one?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in an e-format.
Electronically.
The best we probably could do is scan it, but unfortunately, some of the paper in that is 2nd and 3rd generation, so I'm not sure how well it's going to scan.
For a comprehensive plan, one of the selling tools of doing it was we got 3 free computers, so that tells you how long ago it wasn't.
Fred Flintstone and the bird chipped it in.
Now, just a quick overview of the 2003, with all respect due to those who worked on it. It was very goal-centered, but it was non-action-centered. It really didn't have any action plans to it. It had a lot of, I call them marshmallow goals. They feel good, they made sense. However, there was no plan really attached to it. And so what we need to do at this point in Waterboro's life is take this next plan into something that's really action-centered and asset-centered. And so the 2003, it may be, to respond to what you said, Frank, it may be easier just to burn hard copies if you all wouldn't mind having a hard copy of it, because I don't think it's very scannable. And then you can take a look at that. The thing is that doesn't properly address a comprehensive plan. It's an update. And for some odd reason, when they did that update, they never put it as part and parcel of the whole plan. It's really just a piece of a plan. So that was way before my time. And so one of my goals for the community and for the board is to create a real comprehensive plan and basically start it from scratch. And the easiest, there's only one easy part to this incident. I'll share that with you. It's population 2010 census data, because it's being done by somebody else. All we'll do is try to put it in some clever format, graphic format, so it's just not boring stats. What I've suggested is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new chapters. I'd like Waterboro to stand out as having a comprehensive plan like no other in the state. I can't think of a comprehensive plan that exists in this state that responds to infrastructure and energy needs. That should be part of new comprehensive planning, in my opinion. The board may think otherwise, and you may say, well, we don't need a chapter on that. That's important for you to tell me. My opinion is we don't copycat, we don't boilerplate, and we do it with some creativity. We try to create something. Kurt, you can relate to it. I think once I shared with you the Barrington Town Center plan. That was sort of a comprehensive plan within a plan. What I'm suggesting here is we have a similar thing as one chapter of the whole, and it makes sense. We talk about on the bottom village planning concept and vision. Well, in the last 2003. There's one or two sentences that says there's 5 villages in town, and that's it.
There is no sense.
Yeah, but there really is no village center, and it's the potentiality of having
And there are 5 villages in town.
There potentially could be 5 in time, and part of this new comprehensive planning effort is to take 1 or 2, create models, and do it right, but have all the footprints of how you do it, which will weave into certainly updating your zoning ordinance to make all that happen, but full of graphics and details that helps the town have a vision for it, and also have the planning board, when an applicant comes in, say, here, we have a plan of what we'd like this village to look like, in concept. So, and as the planning board and board of selectmen have discovered, economic development is a key component of this community. There's no question about it. It deserves its own chapter. At some point in time, it probably deserves having the economic development committee have a joint meeting with the planning board, so you can see who's on first base and who's doing what. Because I feel there's a little bit of a vacuum that exists, excepting Doug and myself, because Doug and I sit on that economic development committee, and Doug has been a very active contributor to a lot of the upfront. We've been able to, right, Doug, take goals and turn them into some action, and I think that's the same thing I'd like to see with this comprehensive plan. I believe the planning board is an integral part of this. So when you have a committee out there that will be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, somehow we have to make sure that we get the right weave between boards and committees. My old philosophy is start off on the right foot, we'll finish this thing on the right foot. If we start off misguided or misdirected or misunderstood, we'll end up with something less than what we hoped for.
If anybody took the original zoning ordinance and the notes in the original zoning ordinance done and passed in '78, you would find that there are 4 villages in the town of Waterboro, not 5. At that time, they suggested that we create a 5th village, that being in Roscommon. And there is some detail about that in the original paperwork, sometime around probably 75 or 76, 77. And, a lot of what you're talking about here was in that original zoning ordinance. So,
That's interesting. Like, it's funny, sometimes things come full cycle. You have great visionaries that came up with ideas in the 70s and 80s, and then for some reason, they never came to fruition. And so it's important to revisit the old and bring it forward to 2012, which will be probably our end date. If we start on time, I would anticipate, but my forecast was if we started this thing and had a committee up and running and appointed by the Board of Selectmen by May 1st, that the target date would be completion no later than March of 2012. Probably not much earlier than that either. Dave?
I feel, not stupid, but I feel a little bit slow with asking this question, but what is the big importance of figuring out the center of Waterboro? You go into Portland, what's the center of Portland? Is there a center of Portland?
Obviously.
I mean, if you want to do a geological center of Waterboro, that's fine. But to sit here or to say to everyone in the town of Waterboro that this part of Waterboro is the center and we should focus everything around that part. I disagree with that, and I don't understand why.
I agree, and it's North Waterboro, obviously, I don't care what. Oh, that doesn't agree with you?
Well, I can see already consensus building is going to be a real challenge on this one.
What's the driving force behind this? I mean, the economy stinks.
Behind this?
Yeah, why are we doing this? This is gonna cost money. It's gonna take a lot of volunteer effort to do at a time when we have an extremely hard time finding enough volunteers.
Okay.
What's the driving force?
Well, a couple driving forces. One is I want to disprove all the disbelievers that it's not a good time to get volunteers. I think it is a great time to get volunteers. And I want to disprove that theory. Secondly, the ideal time of doing a comprehensive plan is when you have downtime in the economy, because it gives us a chance to prepare for the next real estate cycle, of which there will be another real estate cycle.
See, I blindly disagree. I think the prime time to do one is when there's a need for one, or people think there's a need for
Then
one.
that's too late, Frank. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. You don't do a plan when you've got, applicants and developers in here saying, I'm going to propose a shopping center here, I'm going to put a funeral home here, I want to design a small village here. So at least you have some forethought, and now's the time to plan. Now's the time to do this sort of thing, because I think there's more time to do it. It's my real estate forecast that in late 2011 into 2012, we're going to start seeing more development in the community. The other thing that we need to give an immense amount of forethought to is where does the community want to see economic development on the two main corridors, Route 5 and Route 202. There are some obviously physical limitations to certain areas, but there are also opportunities, and there's already been quiet planning for small strip malls. Is that what you want? If you don't want a strip mall, then you have to change your zoning, or you're going to end up having spot this and spot that, and you'll have a bad case of the measles.
Depending, all of this depending, of course, upon what the community wants. Define the
Absolutely.
community.
The community, whoever steps up to the plate. When we have,
Thank you. That's exactly right.
I mean, it can be not much more than that. When we have a call for action, and believe me, I will try my hardest, whatever the board suggests, this board, Board of Selectmen, the Economic Development Committee, and they say this is a way of bringing in people and their comments. There will be a minimum of 1 or 2 visioning sessions that always become part and parcel of doing the comprehensive plan. And that's typically the big first hurrah, or hoorah.
We're going to have a focus group right after that.
If that's what the board would like, then we will. Because one of the dilemmas in having visioning sessions, for those of you that have participated in them, is that you get a ton of information, some of it fragmented, some of it general, some of it overly specific, and you got to put it all together. That's where Frank's point comes in. You got to bring it into focus. What happens is you do a big fisheye lens of the community, but it's sometimes a little blurry. Okay, and then you start to bring it in, focus it, and those focus groups or focus points or toggle points then become part and parcel of your future work. It's a big task, but it's one that I feel we can do a portion of it in-house. A portion of it we can't because, one, we're not GIS set up. Every good comprehensive plan needs to have maps and details. There's a lot of details that are absent in our infrastructure that define where development logically should go. And this is where the planning board plays a vital role. On that Route 202 corridor, there's some very obvious spots of where medium to large scale development will go. And there's also then a bunch of small little sites where you can end up throwing 10,000, 20,000 square foot footprint buildings.
But that's the case no matter what you do.
Well, not if you take a hard look at your zoning, not if the community wishes to consider if they want to do a business park. You know, you hear me bringing that up a lot because it's been discussed a lot in the community. And is that a private sector venture or is that a public sector venture? You know, those questions have to be answered. If it's something the public sector doesn't want to be involved in, then I'm of the hopes that a premier developer will step forward and say, I'd like to do a business park in the community. It's very much for those of you that have been involved in academics. Frank, you're an academic of sorts, okay? Even though you're a techie, you're still an academic. You know, you are. He's not denying it. It's almost like campus planning. When in fact, many people refer to industrial or business parks as planning their campus. And so when you lay out a well laid out university campus has a master planner and a master plan that shows where the buildings are going over a certain time sequence. And so if you apply that same type of theory to the community, it helps you determine where you want to put your best business, your best industry in the community on our 2 primary corridors, because that's where most of it's going to end up going.
I'll try to keep the smile off my face. I really will, because I understand that a comprehensive plan is it's good for the town. I understand that it's always good to see where you're going. I will be delighted to see an active group pushing this. I'll also be a little surprised. I don't see the need for it. I don't see the goal for it. If our only goal, if it's a financial goal so that we can put in grant applications and have a better chance of getting them, all for it. I think we ought to just stamp it out and get done with it, with that goal in mind. We have a hard time, we can't vote to say we're going to have clear plastic trash bags in this town, and you're talking a community effort. So I guess I have a hard time keeping the smile off my face. I wish him the best of luck, but I'm not a cockeyed optimist in this one.
Sometimes planners give the appearance of being dreamy-eyed, okay? I want to disprove that theorem, okay, and prove to you that there is importance. Nothing would please me more, Frank, than in March of 2012, and bringing this to you and saying, well, what do you think, Frank? And you say, well, I am glad we pursued this.
I'll be the first to say I was wrong. No problem. David?
And here again, I'm probably asking a foolish question, but in my mind, it's an important question in my mind. Just how much of the 2003 comprehensive plan has been completed? How much have we followed through with and made it reality?
It wasn't ever approved, was it? It was? By the state?
By the town.
It never went.
By the town.
By the town, by
The full thing never got
by the state.
Okay.
Approved by the state.
And looking back at, in the, what, 93, is that when we did, was it 93? 92, 91, somewhere back in there, we did the comprehensive plan, that first,
1990 on this.
1990.
Yeah.
You know, I remember some of the selling points were that state was going to give us 3 free computers. I mean, people come up and say, "What the heck are we doing this?" I say, "We're going to get 3 free computers." Oh, yeah? Yeah. And we don't have to follow it. And we don't. So it's a valid question. Looking back on both the original one and the 2000, whatever, the update, how much have we followed that?
Are you asking a question of me? I'll give a response, but you
Okay.
all know better because some of you participated in it. So you can probably answer your own question. Dave, I think you have the answer to that question. My answer to the question is how much of anything? Because it was not a actual plan. It had a series of goals, and I think sometimes goals can be just goals. And unfortunately, it didn't take it around the plate. It brought you to first base, but it didn't hit any home runs.
Bounced around the words a bit. Throw away the goals, action plan. Give me an example of an action plan.
Of an action plan?
Yeah.
Sure. Really? You got all night?
No, I just want one. Just give me
quick
one.
Let me give you two fast ones,
Two.
okay? One is on economic development. You know, there are, and there will be, businesses that will be coming into town within the next year to 2 years that are going to have 40 to 60,000 square foot footprints. There has to be desirable places in town where you'd like to or prefer to place them because of either water demands, traffic demands, accessibility. Doug has said repeatedly that how important the 202 corridor is from Gorham all the way to Rochester. That's a primary corridor that gets neglected and not talked about enough. So part of the chapter that deals with economic development and the zoning ordinance better defines where you want to put larger scale businesses and where you want to put smaller incubator businesses. Should incubator businesses be little 5,000 square foot metal buildings here, there, and there? Or should they be part more of a business incubator campus? If we don't do something like that, and I guess let me go to what the bottom line is how do you develop an economic base for a community that's growing in its school needs and growing residentially, but is not growing at the speed it could grow economically for business and commerce. So that's one. Okay.
Okay, well, let me jump on that one.
Oh, sure.
My comment. So we end up with a comprehensive plan in which we think that this section of 202 and this section of 202 would be good for major businesses, and down here is where we're going to constrain for major businesses, and that's all in the comprehensive plan. All fine and good, but that ain't zoning. So the guy comes into the incubator business and says, that's where I want to go, and it's zoned for it, and that's where we're going to put it.
Well, riding piggyback to all this, Frank, is an overhaul of your zoning ordinance at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, good. I just, dragging.
No, your points are all well taken. You know, the part that, section 3 is going to be your toughest part of the overhaul, because are those zones doing for the community what you intended them to do? Do they need to be re-looked at and probably overhauled in terms of the zoning, too? That's going to be your tough one. That's not going to happen in one meeting. That's going to be months and months and months. And I think that's a question you all need to ask yourself. Do you want to completely overhaul your zoning that you currently have? Currently, the way the zoning ordinance is structured, it is counterproductive to good village planning. It doesn't look at all the variables that you need to create a village. In the absence of that, you'll have linear development. I'll put it in a time capsule, I'll open it 30 years from now, and I'll guarantee you'll go up and down the roads, and all you have is linear development to the current zoning ordinance. And I'm sure you'll all be around here 30 years from now. Right, Steve? So, so do you see what I'm saying, Frank? Is that
I understand what you're
the
saying.
two fit together? You can't do
Appreciate what you're saying. I just, some of this stuff is just, I want to hear it for myself.
Let's-
We're really looking at zoning changes. Based on what,
That's a huge part of it.
based on what a group of people, under the guise of a comprehensive plan, think the town ought to go.
Well,
That's a fair,
it is, but, you know, hopefully there'll be good community input, and,
Yes.
and we can only do so much. We can ask for it, and the people who step up to the plate and come to the meetings are the people that we're going to hear.
the positive part to me is if you do it action-based, when people hear an action, that's when people say, hey, I don't think so. I don't want those there. And that's where you get participation, you can call it community or whatever. But it's having vision, focusing groups, the whole bit, to me is, well, useless. But if you can come up with the definitions that you can show people, this is what we're trying to do in the comprehensive plan, and then we will translate this into zoning changes. I think we get some people there. You need to have something that people can focus on, not,
Constructive debate is a good thing, you know?
I wouldn't have half my fun in life if it wasn't.
That's right.
Do you have anything else?
I better
Before
not.
Frank goes on with this all night.
Well, no, I think Frank's comments are very constructive, and it's the type of thing, I hope we get a lot of that type of debate in your state. You know, I hope people pose the questions, because that's what's going to make the committee and all participants work harder. And we won't all agree on everything, you know. My concept of what a good South Waterboro and East Waterboro Village would look like may not be at all what the planning board is thinking, or the committee. My job is to bring to you the alternative, show you what we could do and how we can do it. But I can tell you that there are people interested in this community, commercial developers, as far as 1,000 miles away, that are looking at Waterboro. And I think that if they're, how coming here was a good awakening, that people want to make a commitment to Maine, and they want to make a commitment to Waterboro. So, I mean, even that, I mean, we won't know for another 6 months to a year if that business is going to quadruple in workforce based on a DOA contract or other contracts, or if it's not, if it's going to drift in different directions. But the time to plan ahead for that is now. It's not after they get awarded some contract or do something else with that building. So that's my thinking, is just planning ahead, basically, and that's what comprehensive planning is, basically, is planning ahead. And if we can weave a creative, updated zoning ordinance that fulfills the needs of the community and where the board thinks we should make some overhauls, I'm glad they're running concurrently. I'm glad you're kind of one step, and I hope you can keep the momentum of the comprehensive plan committee that will be formed. Because what you come up with in section 3 will be looked at by the comprehensive plan committee, and hopefully you all agree.
The basis of comprehensive plan, seems to always get lost. They say history repeats itself. A comprehensive plan is supposed to say, we learn from history. Where have we been? Where are we going? Where have we been? Where are we now? And where do we want to go? It's not a law, it's an idea. And it's supposed to be an idea that's learned from the past. The thinking in this town is non-productive to comprehensive planning. The town is not productive. When you can leave South Waterboro Village and you can go to Ross Corner and never go up a hill any greater than going up the Townhouse Road from here to Hollis, Route 117, and the town just abandoned it because they didn't want to even not build it, but they didn't even want to maintain it.
Milk Road?
Well, the name of it's the Milk Road.
Yeah.
But of course, we had to have other influences, and now it's the Blueberry Road. I don't know why, I don't know if there's a blueberry bush up there. But, you know, you can leave South Waterboro Village and go to North Waterboro, and finally, after a half an eon, the road got passable. When I was a youngster, you could drive up through there slick as a whistle. And then it deteriorated to the point where you couldn't go through it at all. You could leave North Waterboro, go to Ross Corner, and be there in probably
That'd be nice.
15 minutes, 12 minutes, going up the Ross Corner Road. When A.J. Cameron flooded the Ross Corner Road, the Board of Selectmen wouldn't even go complain. He had a dam that put the town road under 4 feet of water. And it was only an act of God that took the dam out that saved the road from ever being there. And today, you know, there's not much of a road. Well, you can walk from the joint of the Middle Road and Ross Corner Road to Ross Corner in probably half an hour.
Yeah.
You
Almost
know?
faster than you could drive there.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said almost faster than you can drive there.
You know, you can't come down and go up. So if you look at these things, we had a perfect opportunity to save a lot of the town of Waterboro by taking the existing railroad bed and putting traffic up through there. Now it's privately owned, it's become a dam. Last week, you could see how it flooded the Hamilton Road and how it's flooding a good part of Waterboro because the existing railroad bed, which were built across streams, not being maintained, have clogged up. So you've got to get a different mindset. You can drop all the plans you want, but until we come up with a different mindset here in the town, you know, we're not going to gain anything. We've got to, you know, produce funds, and we've got to have an idea change that's going to get this town moving forward toward rehabilitation, because we're like a bunch of drunks. We need to be rehabilitated. And I
So
don't
we
know-
need to develop a 12-step program?
Well, I don't know if 12-step program would do it, but you know, we're certainly not moving that way when you take all the money out of every capital improvement plan in town and junk it. Go away, you know?
You know, the kicker is, and I say this constructively, is 85% of this town hasn't a clue what you just said.
Probably
They moved
95%
They
don't.
moved here in the last 10, 12 years. They managed to get home from work. They haven't a clue where any of this stuff is.
You know, you talk
That's
about,
really, that's a problem.
The only reason I know is just being on the board. I fit into that category.
you talk about the center of town.
North Waterboro.
Well, you know, we call this Waterboro Center. It's actually Cow's Corner. That's what this is, right out here at the square, it's Cow's Corner. And it's been Cow's Corner since Noah was a pup, okay? And, you know, that is a good point of the center of town. They call it the center of town. People don't realize that. We take the Taylor House, which is a good opportunity to make a something to the town, and we use it, you know, and nobody lives in it. So, you know, we're willing to put our money into things so people can see it, but we don't put our money into things that are constructive. We don't fix our roads, and if you can write up all the plans you want, but if you don't fund anything, it's all worthless.
The minute you have to spend money or make a decision, it gets complicated.
And when you draw up a plan, you know, when they start on this comprehensive plan, you know, the things that are important to the development of this community, especially the economic development, is where are our resources? Where are our power? Where is our water? And where do we have the best opportunity for traffic flow? These roads are our arteries. You put driveways on them, and you're adding a little cholesterol to the artery. Every driveway is a bump of cholesterol because it slows down the flow of traffic. And every time you put a house out there, and the first time you get 10 houses, and then they all say, oh, we can't have these cars going by here 45 miles an hour, we got to slow them down to 20. So now the heart has to pump harder to push that slow-moving traffic by. We lose everything. So
Stick another school in.
If I may,
So this whole thing is got to be, you know, there's a lot more to it than you think. And keeping our arteries open is the main thing, and where are our resources?
Tom?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to be very brief, but I just want to take two pieces and weave them together, because if there's a place that you all want to start, I really need you to be thinking about particularly 202, okay? And the way that your ordinance is presently constructed, we don't need to get into specifics. If you allow too much more residential development in your prime commercial growth area, you're going to, if you don't do something about the ordinance, you're going to have business, house, business, house, business, and there will be no rhyme or reason to it. That portion of the ordinance and that district need to be really intensely looked at. Judy, I'm going to jump to your point. I just want these for ideas to take back and put under your pillow, okay? We don't need to discuss them yet. Judy's point about the next new school. I recall reading when I first started this job, or asking for a copy of a document, which I believe hopefully all of you have read, that says that there's going to be, in the future, the yet-to-be-determined future, a school up at Ross Corner. Is that the right place in the community? I'm not saying it is or isn't, but in your own minds, think about it. Is that a place where you'd want to see a new school facility? I do recall seeing that. I don't know if any of you have recalled seeing it or reading it or hearing about it.
You need to put the school where the kids are.
Pardon me?
I said you need to put the school where the kids are.
You see, that's exactly what master planning is. And in many cases, centralizing your uses. In many cases, as the community grows, you want your emergency and your fire and your police and all those to be centralized. Most communities in your county, in this state, in New England, have learned the hard way. They started fragmenting them, and whenever they had a piece of land, they'd throw a facility here and then throw one there. And it led to total fragmentation. So this is the saving grace with this next comprehensive plan, because when you look at a village, just don't think of a couple cute retail stores, but you think of, in the case of East Waterboro or Carl's Corner, you think of what types of uses you'd like to see here in the future, and that becomes sort of a miniature village master plan within your larger comprehensive plan. And Kurt, because you've seen a copy of it, if you think that the board could benefit from the Barrington Town Center plan, I'll give you a copy of that tonight, and you can kind of take it and determine whether or not you think it's something that the board would like to look at. And
The state website, that 208 group up there, has got, I think, 9 now from different towns around the state of Maine that are in there.
Like what?
Are really comprehensive plans that are really worth going through. It's an eye-opener.
It might be worth going through, and I think Frank's point is well taken, to look at others, but attempt not to copy any of them. I just have a real, I'm very principled about copying other people's work because, you know, the town of Waterboro needs its own integrity, it needs its own creative type of planning. And copying someone else's plans, I'm not saying we would or wouldn't, but there's a tendency, and that's happened throughout New England, of copying zoning ordinances, and I think that's where so many people
I
have
think
gotten.
simply looking at what we have now for a comprehensive plan versus what other towns have done
Is a good
is an eye-opener. It's not a stack of paper that sits over here we don't even have electronically. It was an eye-opener to go through them, that they're all different. Everybody seems to have done their own thing, and there's a few cookie-cutter ones out there, but most of them are different. But it's really interesting to see the information that's up there.
As a starting point, if
That's a good starting point.
if the board and the chair would so allow, I'd like to be starting to work more and more with you individually and as a whole board. And may I suggest that Frank and I take a look at some of what might be considered some of the better ones and then share them with the whole board. No sense giving you a volume of paper. Let's pick out a couple of good ones and share them with you. If Kurt and I can look at the Barrington Town Center plan and say, you know, pieces of this might be worthy here, then we'll share those with you. But my dream and my expectation is that each one of you would come to me and say, geez, you know, I have an interest in village centers, I have an interest in schools, I have an interest in water infrastructure, I have an interest in the placement of businesses along the Route 202 corridor. Then that gives me the input and gives me the impetus to go out and do work even harder, because then I know I'm truly serving the board and helping the board. I expect to take a leadership capacity with the Comprehensive Oversight Committee, and I expect that each one of you will come to me and say, you know, this is a key point that is important to me as a Waterboro resident. I'd like you to work on it.
But
Okay?
the whole idea of residential versus business has been a thorn in the side of this town forever, because, you know, you've tried business parks and people say, oh no, we're not going to do that. And if I've got a piece of, like up on Roberts Ridge Road, the guy up there who's plucked right in the middle of where people live, and he's making noise. And I mean, that's been a problem that I've seen for this town forever.
All the more reason to overhaul that zoning along 202 and 5. All the more reason. They may be thorny issues in the past and thorny issues now, but there'll be cobras in the future if you don't tackle them now.
Would three-zone Concord lumber area and make that a business park?
Well,
The school there?
Mr. Chairman, can we take one more point on that?
Sure, go ahead.
We'll update the board on Carthage. Right now, that's in Sleepy Hollow. It's been resurrected 3 or 4 times. We have no indicator when they're going to come back, if they're going to come back, or when they're going to come back. You know ultimately something will come back. In the comprehensive plan, one would typically look at the community's interest. Does the town ultimately want to see a large lot, 110-acre, 15-acre lots up there with 7 miles of road frontage? That was the last plan incident, 103 with 7 miles of road frontage.
That reflected the comprehensive plan a little bit better than the original one.
Yes, true. Alternatively, and this is just in theory now, everyone that's watching and listening, in theory, would the town ever want to see that as a total land holding never to be developed? If so, how would that happen? Are there vehicles to make that happen so that 7.2% of your entire town is not developed up in that corner? Is that part of
It would be off the tax base? We already did that, the 5% of the
Depending on-
buildable land out in Ross Conway, we
Right.
figured that out the tax
right,
base.
in theory?
Okay, just checking.
Depends on how creative you can be financially. Who participates? Is it a philanthropic participation? Is it a trust participation at the state level? Is it Are there state monies available to purchase it? What does that do if it's on or off the tax rolls? These are all things that need to be talked about, but you have, again, another grace period to be thinking
If no one
about.
lives there and it's off the tax rolls, then it's not costing us anything either.
There's a lot to think about, and you have a local land trust that is getting more and more active. You have, I believe, in the near future, that being 2 or 3 years, another infusion of funds that's going to go into the state land trust that assists. For example, good illustration, McDougal's farm, okay? One generation passed it to the next. So Evan and his sister said, well, we have a choice. They talked to their dad, they worked for 3 years, and the state bought McDougal's. It'll always be an apple orchard in perpetuity. It'll always be a farm in perpetuity. Did it impact the Sanford tax rolls? Yeah, a little bit. But the town of Sanford as a whole was more happy to see it remain McDougal orchards, McDougal farms forever. So these are the things, it's not an easy process. I expect that, I'll get slaps behind the head and bruises out of this thing, but that's okay. I got broad shoulders, I can take it. I expect that will happen in the comprehensive plan process. If it went through smoothly and everybody agreed to everything, then it'll be fun. So, but thanks for all your comments tonight, and thanks for your patience, Mr. Chairman. I know that you've allowed me more time than
2 minutes?
deserved.
No problem. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Any new business? Number 9 on our agenda is adjournment. Go ahead.
I'll go back by next. Can you give a chair command?
I just need a,
We need
I
the
need
disc-
to see it.
We need the disc to review it, so if we have the disc to review it, we'll get it back as soon as we review your comprehensive plan.
The disc.
Or a hard
Yeah,
copy.
the hard copies you're gonna do, right?
Okay.
So the sooner they get that, the sooner we get it back.
Is it okay, how many want to pick them up from Tina's office and how many want them mailed?
What?
The 203 comprehensive plan.
Well, that one we have electronically, right?
No, we don't.
Why don't we get it scanned in?
Because some of it's third generation material, and the maps won't really scan well.
I think I have it. I'm gonna go
So how many would like to pick them up in Tina's office?
I'll pick it up.
I'll pick it up.
get it.
And how many want them mailed? Perfect.
I'll take it electronic, but
Yeah, I would too. Well, if you load them on disc, can't you, why can't you,
We could try to enhance math. Let me take a look.
Well, I could probably do the majority of it too.
How about we do this? Let's have a hard copy, for those of you that use computers as much, you have the hard copy, and then we'll also have it on disc.
if it comes electronically, that'd be better for me.
yeah, I don't think anybody said anything about a hard copy. Electronic copy or a disc.
So Tina's gonna type it in again, is that what you're saying?
Teeny's gonna retype it.
Doug, what would be your preference?
Oh, Doug, you wanted a hard copy?
Copy?
I actually think.
Paper? I'm sorry, Doug.
Yeah.
You probably already got that.
You were looking at Doug,
The original comprehensive plan.
He prefers.
Okay. However, I would prefer electronically. If we can get electronically, great. If not, I'll take a disc.
Don't send me
Fred,
one.
what do you want, electronic?
I prefer electronic.
Fred, I mean, Fred, I know what to do. Doug's gonna have a hard copy, Steve,
Paper. Paper.
paper.
Paper.
Paper. I don't do.
There goes several trees.
Keep Carthage.
I think I have one. I'll go.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I made two.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? We're done. Thank you.